Today I'm going to talk about the way social media users respond to a crisis. Now, crisis is a word thrown about with abandon these days, but one thing's for certain, it's not if a crisis will happen, it's when it will happen. And with the proliferation of social and digital media, the effects can be much more wide-reaching today than they were, say, a decade ago. People define crisis in a variety of ways, but here's one definition I saw in a crisis management manual for the airline industry, a sector which has had to deal with its fair share of issues over the years. It says, a crisis is any situation which has the potential to damage long-term confidence in an organisation, its leadership, products and services, or which can affect its ability to continue operating normally. And how do you manage a situation like that? Well, let's not forget the origin of the word crisis is actually Greek. It means decision. If you're in any sort of executive, C-suite or management position, your decisions in a crisis will impact and affect the outcomes dramatically, which is why preparation is vital. Have you stress tested how you would react, what decisions you might make, what resources you do and don't have in a crisis scenario? Of all the interesting digital projects and accounts I've worked on over the last couple of years at Canning's Purple, by far the largest growth area is crisis communication strategy and preparation. Smart businesses know it's not if they will find themselves in a serious crisis scenario, it's when. Which I think is why I'm spending more and more time with executive teams discussing things like the role of social media in a crisis, social governance and policy, and how to monitor those social networks when there is a major issue. So, broadly, when a crisis hits, what is the role of social media? Well, I think there are 4 phases of activity, each requiring different tactics to manage, and the first of these can be characterised as breaking news. Facts are scarce, hyperbole and rumour are rife, and all of that will be shared quickly and widely on social media platforms. People like to be seen, to be connected, in the know. And the sharing of timely knowledge is part of the draw of networks like Twitter and Facebook. But as a business, are you monitoring for each and every one of those mentions? What are the keywords you will need? Do you know on which platforms the issue is being discussed? So after that first phase, social media platforms become the place where the meat is put on the bones of the story. Media outlets, commentators and influencers are using social media to find out more about what happened, how it happened, and who's to blame. Commentators hypothesize, the media speculates, journalists start contacting people through social media who were there or have a link to the company somehow. Your communications team will begin to be overwhelmed at this point, and managing the steep increase in messages, both digitally on social media platforms, but also traditionally from the press, becomes a real challenge. Now, I call stage 3 the blame game. The initial news burst has quelled, but now people are becoming more dismissive in their response. This is the stage where jokes crop up on social platforms about the issue, when undermining things are written in passing about the companies or the brands involved. The worst of the worst gets spread, and people, usually with very little connection to the business or the issue, begin pointing fingers. Whose fault is this crisis, this emergency? Well, finally, stage 4 comes after the dust has settled, and this may be many months or years after the initial issue. Social media mentions have died down, the pressure is off, but there's a lot you can learn and benefit from the huge amounts of data which has been generated as a result on these social networks. Things like identifying influencers, the people who spread positive and negative sentiment during the issue. All that builds a basis of future media plans, all from the activity you've hopefully monitored and logged over the course of the crisis. You can find out more about how you deal with each of these phases of social media use in a crisis at the 2016 Emergency Management Resilience Conference, taking place in Perth on the 24th and 25th of November 2016, where I'll be speaking. Hosted by IFAP and supported by REM Associates and Canning's Purple, the conference will focus on how businesses manage the unprecedented increase in potential risk and exposure to major emergency events. Key themes will be preparation, response, and recovery, and I'll be speaking specifically about building a digital-first response strategy, social media governance in large corporations in preparation of an issue or crisis, and what you can do now to make sure you have the social tools and data ready for when a major incident hits. Joining me at the event is a world-class roster of speakers and experts, including Vice President of the Operations Control Centre for Malaysia Airlines, Fuad Chiruji. He's the man overseeing the crisis response to the MH370 and MH17 disappearances. Stuart Ellis, the CEO of the Australasian Fire and Emergency Service Authorities Council. Anne Carey from Australian Red Cross and the 2016 West Australian of the Year. And Chris Cubbage from Asia Pacific Security Magazine. Hopefully I'll see you there. To get tickets, please go to www.ifap.asn.au/resilience for more information.